Now on Sunrise, millions across the country join in a single message: hands off. We take you to Saturday's demonstrations. Plus, some Oregonians want to repeal the state's vote-by-mail system. What lawmakers in Salem are saying as President Trump tries to kill vote-by-mail nationwide. Your news starts now. Good morning, and thanks for getting up with us as you kick off your Sunday at 6 a.m. I'm Libby Dowsett alongside Chris McGinnis in for Daisy today.
75 degrees near record warmth yesterday. Wow,
it was
right?
So nice.
That was so nice.
Yeah.
Was. This
morning,
big changes out there. You already noticed them coming in this morning. We had some rain overnight. Here's a look at radar over the last 3 hours. One band of rain has already kind of passed through the area. We're in a bit of a lull in the action, but we'll give you the live scan here. There actually are still some pretty good raindrops falling here, East County, and getting up out into the Columbia River Gorge, up in the Cascades, and then more rain showers starting to pop here off the Oregon coast. We'll zoom in a little tighter here, getting out towards Estacada and Troutdale and Sandy. You folks are still a little wet this morning, but a lot of the I-5 corridor has temporarily dried out, and I mean like literally for like an hour or two. Rose City Sky Camera showing slate gray sky over downtown. It's 54 degrees. Last check at PDX, and elsewhere across the region, 51 Sherwood, Hillsborough, and Beaverton checking in with 52 degrees as we slide down towards Salem and Albany. 53 for you. Same story in Kaiser this morning. All right, the plan for today, our Sunday. Cooler. We were 75 yesterday. We're going to be hard pressed to get to 60 today. That's my forecast high. We have occasional rain in the forecast this morning, as in we'll get a band of rain, a break, a band of rain, a break. But I think the bands consolidate a little bit, and we become a little steadier with the rain as we head into the afternoon, with high temperatures, again, struggling to get back to 60 degrees. Libby, it's going to be a fairly wet 2 or 3 days here. I'll show you that with my 7-day forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Chris. From Washington, D.C. to Boston to Chicago to right here in the Northwest. Similar scenes nationwide Saturday. Cities across the country saw demonstrations with millions of people denouncing the actions of the Trump administration. Traffic was shut down in downtown Portland, and the largest of several of these rallies that took place were right here in the metro area. What appeared to be thousands of people marched across the waterfront. The Portland Police Bureau said there was one arrest of a woman who vandalized a Portland Fire and Rescue brush unit. She also had a warrant out for her arrest. Overall, police say participants were collaborative and let officers know the march route to ensure safety. Our Celine Stevens went to several of Saturday's rallies and spoke with people who say they were marching for democracy.
Hey, hey! Hands off our rights, hands off our Social Security, on and on and on. I could go on forever.
Trump and Musk have got to go!
Hands-off protests took over the country Saturday, with crowds of hundreds and even thousands of people showing up at some locations, including Portland.
Woo!
Right now, the democracy in our country is going off the cliff, and we're trying to hold on to it.
The crowd so big, parts of NATO Parkway had to be shut down due to people flooding the streets.
Fight back!
I think it's absolutely great. Absolutely great that people are fed up with it enough to come out in numbers like this.
The protests popping up in multiple cities in Oregon, like Tigard. Protesters telling me their grievances with the Trump administration.
Cutting back on aid for either foreign countries or right here in our own country. Cutting back on Medicaid and any help to the poor. Also stopping the DEI.
Talk of tariffs also coming up following the president's speech Wednesday about reciprocal tariffs being placed on other countries in an effort to make America wealthy again, according to the president.
For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at our expense. But now it's our turn to prosper. But we will charge them approximately half of what they are and have been charging us. So
that's ridiculous because the tariffs will just be passed on to us. And that's the problem. Things are always passed on to us. You know, people that are rich, they don't care.
Vancouver also saw some action, protesters expressing anger over recent federal cutbacks thanks to the Trump administration, as well as DOGE, led by Elon Musk. Some of these cutbacks affecting Veterans Affairs, the Social Security Administration, and more.
I just went on Social Security. It's a great system. I think we're at a turning point. You're either going to fund this stuff or you're going to have half these people, probably myself included, we're going to be living in tents on the street.
Some calling the current environment a travesty.
I think it's a disaster. Way too much going on. Some of the people that have been put into office have no business being there.
Protesters telling me the impacts affecting a range of agencies and people.
I am a scientist. I work on HIV, and this is impacting my work. People are getting laid off, grants are getting defunded. It's just shocking that what the government is doing.
Celine Stevens, KGW News.
Oregon Senator Ron Wyden released a statement in regard to the protests. He said he wished he could have been at the protest instead of in Washington, D.C., but he can feel and hear the people power at this rally and others like it. We also reached out to the Washington Republican Party about these protests. Here is their response.
And in politics, there's a lot of theater. A lot of outrage, a lot of you shouldn't be doing this and we're going to stand up. It's like, okay, well, he is doing it and let's see what happens here. But the waste is real. The correction is needed. The debt is real.
That was Matthew Patrick Thomas from the Washington Republican Party. He is one of the 168 members of the Republican National Committee. Locally, there have been cuts to programs that aim to help low-income families educate their children. The Region 10 office of the Head Start program, which serves 33,000 families in Oregon, Washington, Alaska, and Idaho, is now closed. The program also helps women escape domestic violence and families find shelter. Those working in classrooms say the human cost could be great.
If a family is worried about where they're going to get their next meal, or if they have a roof over their head, they're not going to be thinking, oh, does my child know the alphabet or numbers? No, they're in crisis mode.
The cuts to Head Start are part of the Trump administration's efforts to streamline government. The overall plan is to cut 10,000 workers from the Office of Health and Human Services. We have been covering demonstrations for weeks, as well as the latest actions by the Trump administration. Find our coverage by going to KGW.com, the KGW YouTube channel, and our TV app, KGW Plus. Oregon was the first state to adopt vote by mail, but now lawmakers in Salem are considering a bill that would get rid of it. This comes as President Trump is trying to make some drastic changes to how Americans vote. Daisy Caballero has our story.
And open a public hearing on Senate Bill 210.
On Monday, the Senate Committee on Rules heard public testimony on a proposed bill that would repeal vote by mail in Oregon by 2028.
I think it's time, which is why this is a referral.
Republican Senator Dave Brock-Smith is the sponsor of Senate Bill 210, and it would make in-person voting on Election Day the standard method for conducting an election and require people to show government-issued ID. But not everyone agrees this change would benefit everyone.
This bill would have a disproportionate impact on mothers and care providers who rely on the flexibility and accessibility of our current vote-by-mail system.
Oregon was the first state in the U.S. to conduct a presidential election by mail 25 years ago. Since then, 7 other states and Washington, D.C. have fully adopted the vote-by-mail method, though some say it's time to rethink that decision.
A lot of people do not want it, but I don't hear my voice being heard. I feel like we need to send this to the people to vote.
About 81% of the emails the committee received early Monday morning opposed the bill, with 19 agreeing. Many of those for the bill cited voter fraud as a main reason to pass it, specifically bringing up the Oregon DMV mishap in mistakenly enrolling hundreds of non-citizens on the voter roll last year. But the committee chair set the record straight.
Out of those 1,200 people who are being quote-unquote registered, mistakenly registered, only maybe 2 people casted their votes.
This, of course, comes less than a week after President Trump signed an executive order that would reshape election rules in requiring votes to be cast and received by Election Day, and says federal funding should be conditional on state compliance. And while the committee has not yet casted its vote, Senator James Manning Jr. said he will not be voting for this bill.
So I'm trying to figure out, is this an issue looking for a problem? Because I don't see it here in our state.
And the committee has yet to vote on Senate Bill 210. With Democrats in power, analysts say it's very likely this bill will not survive.